Charlie McAvoy and David Pastrnak will be in action today at the Winter Olympics, and they will hope to fare a bit better than their Bruins teammates did on day one. If this tournament is any indication, literally anything can happen, and you have to be on your A game.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm your host, Ian McLaren. I am a lifelong Boston Bruins fan, and I've been covering this team and the NHL for various major outlets for nearly 20 years. Today is Thursday, February 12th, and on today's podcast, we are going to recap day one at the men's hockey tournament over at the Winter Olympics. Henri Jokiharju and Team Finland losing to Slovakia. Team Sweden, Elias Lindholm in action there, beating Italy. Today, Charlie McAvoy will be representing Team USA. We got David Pastrnak and the Czechs going up against Team Canada. And Dachlak Melis in action against Team USA, playing for Latvia in what will be an intriguing matchup because of what happened last week between the Bruins and the Florida Panthers, Charlie McAvoy, Sandis, Vilmanis. It was a great day at the Olympics. We're going to also intersperse some history of the Bruins at the Olympics, including a look back at that crazy decision in 1998 to put Ray Bourque in the shootout against Dominik Hasek. The big news yesterday for a Bruins perspective was Elias Lindholm playing against Team Italy. He was injured in a game last month against the Nashville Predators. It was a 3-2 overtime win for the Bruins, but Lindholm left in the second period and did not return with what the team called an upper body injury. He missed the remaining games prior to the break, including the Stadium Series game, a big game against the Florida Panthers, and Bruins head coach Marco Sturm said it would be kind of up to Sweden if Elias Lindholm, who was placed on injured reserve by the Bruins, was going to be able to play in the Olympics. He was activated from IR on Tuesday and was able to play for Team Sweden against Italy. And he played in, I believe, a second line role for Sweden over at the Winter Olympics, skating alongside Jesper Bratt and Lucas Raymond. So a pretty prominent role for Elias Lindholm. The third line featured Elias Pettersson because of Zibanejad, Rickard Rakell. So Lindholm playing on the second line, a pretty nice spot for him to be on for Team Sweden. He did not get any reps on the power play, but he was pretty prominent for this team in that 5-on-5 role. He did not record a point. It was a bit closer than Team Sweden would have liked. Italy went up 1-0. It was 2-2 through a good chunk of this game before Sweden was eventually able to pull away. But the good news for the Bruins was Lindholm was healthy and was able to play for Team Sweden. Hampus Lindholm was a late addition to the roster, and he was held out as an injury reserve, did not crack their top six in terms of defensemen. We'll see if he gets in there at any point, but he found himself on the outside looking in yesterday, which was unfortunate for him. But big picture, Team Sweden wins. Elias Lindholm in the lineup, and it was great to see him back in action after missing some time due to injury. Now, hopefully, of course, he's not pushing it. Hopefully, he is able to remain healthy throughout the tournament. Philip Forsberg, I believe, was the extra forward, so they do have reinforcements there. But Lindholm was able to play, and Hampus kept out as an extra defenseman. We'll see if he gets in here as the tournament goes on. Finland, Sweden will take on each other tomorrow. It's a 6:10 a.m. start, which is kind of unfortunate because that will limit viewing between a pretty, rival, tense two teams there. But, if you want to get up and watch that, then it should be a banger. Speaking of Finland, they lost yesterday to Slovakia, and it was kind of not a great showcase for Bruins defenseman Henri Jokiharju, who only played about 7 minutes and 34 seconds. Benched a bit after Juraj Slafkovsky's opening goal, which kind of came on a misplay from Jokiharju. It was in the first period. Finland was attempting to throw the puck around the boards in the defensive zone. It hit a skate and went right to Slafkovsky, who cut towards the net, while Bruins defenseman Jokiharju, instead of playing the puck, instead of taking the man, played the forward at the side of the net. And Slafkovsky had a pretty clear shot. He deked out UC Saros, wrapped it around him for the game's opening goal. Gave Slovakia a ton of confidence and put Finland behind the 8 ball pretty early. Finland maybe was the better team in this one. They have much more high-end talent, of course, but that misplay by Jokiharju was one of the bigger plays of the game. That's not going to really help him if he wants to stay in the lineup for Team Finland. Jokiharju was on the third pairing with Olli Mata. Mata didn't play much either. They relied a lot on their top 4, which includes Miro Heiskanen, Esa Lindell, Niko Mikkola, and Rasmus Ristolainen. The only other 2 options are Mikko Lehtinen and Joel Kiviranta, so we'll see if Jokiharju is taken out of the lineup in lieu of one of those guys. Not a fantastic debut for him on the Olympic stage. Joonas Korpisalo did not play in this game. He was the third-string goalie for Team Finland. UC Saros got the start, and Korpisalo, of course, taking a back seat to, I believe, the backup goalie, who is Kevin Lankinen. So yeah, yesterday we saw 2 Bruins in action out of a possible 4, with Korpisalo and Elias Lindholm being scratched. Elias Lindholm did play, which is a great thing to see for the Bruins because he had suffered that injury. He centered the second line, logged over 15 minutes, pretty reliable defensively, but did not record a point in the win. Lindholm was a healthy scratch, late addition to the roster following an injury to Jonas Brodin. He's like the 7th or 8th defenseman and may or may not see action in this tournament. Henri Jokiharju, limited ice time, second lowest on the team. I believe his defensive partner, Olli Mata, only had fewer amounts of minutes. -1 on the day. Could not contain Juraj Slafkovsky, dominated with 2 goals. Korpisalo was the third-string goalie behind UC Saros and Kevin Lankinen. Historic day, though, marking the return of NHL players to the Olympics. Mixed bag for the Bruins representatives. The major upset, Slovakia beating Finland. Sweden kind of barely holding on against Team Italy. And today we have a bunch of games on the schedule. Canada, Czechia at 10:40 a.m. Latvia versus the United States at 3:10 p.m. We will preview those games later on in the podcast, but coming up, we'll take a brief look back at Bruins Olympic history, how players from the black and gold have fared over at the Winter Olympics. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think there has to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. Works right from your phone or your computer, and you can even keep your existing number. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number, so not number one rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. Make this year the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedonnhl. Quo, no missed calls and no missed customers. Thank you so much for making Locked On Boston Bruins your first listen every day. And thank you for making Locked On the number one sports podcast network. If you haven't already done so, I encourage you to go check out our new Everydayer Club. You will get access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Boston Bruins, which is compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, every other major podcast app. You'll also get access to the Locked On Discord server, which has a channel dedicated to Locked On Boston Bruins. There's also a Winter Olympics channel, fantasy hockey. It's bumping over there right now, and you want to get in on the conversation. We'll keep it going there after each episode. Go to lockedonbruins.supercast.com to learn more, or click the link in the show notes. I wanted to touch briefly on Bruins history over at the Olympics, because it's pretty deep and wide and varying degrees of success. Before NHL pros were allowed to play in 1998, the Bruins Olympic history was built on kind of local collegiate stars who were either drafted by the Bruins or signed immediately following the games. Go back to 1980, the Miracle on Ice. You had Jim Craig, the legendary goalie of the 1980 team, who signed with the Bruins immediately after the Olympics and played 23 games between 1980 and 1983. You also had forward Dave Silk, who was born in Scituate, Mass., key forward on the 1980 team, who played 110 games for the Bruins from 1982 to 1985. Mike Eruzione, hero over in Lake Placid, 1980, famously declined a Bruins contract, retiring from hockey following the 1980 gold medal win, which was a pretty crazy decision looking back. You had Dick Rodenheiser, who won gold in 1960, silver in 1956, who played for the Bruins in the late 50s. And then Tim Regan, a goalie from Providence, who was a Bruins prospect, who won silver in 1972. Which brings us to the first pro era, which kicked off in 1998. Now, this was unreal for me as a grade 12 student up here in Ontario. Those games were played at wild hours of the night. I remember waking up, setting my alarm for 3 a.m., getting up, watching Team Canada play, going back to bed for a couple hours, and then getting up to go to school. And of course, the Bruins' involvement in this tournament was highlighted by Ray Bourque, Bruins captain. He was named an alternate captain for Team Canada at age 37. And in the semifinals, he, with 1 minute and 3 seconds left in the third period, fired a shot that Trevor Linden tipped in to tie the game. The game went to overtime and then went to a shootout. And this was one of the most, if social media was around back in 1998, X, Threads, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, MySpace would come back to comment on this. Head coach Mark Crawford chose Ray Bourque to shoot second in the shootout over Wayne Gretzky. Like, think about that for a second. The greatest player of all time. You have an opportunity to go to the finals in the Olympics, and you go with Ray Bourque. Now, the rationale for that was Ray Bourque, of course, was one of the most accurate shooters in NHL history. And dominating the accuracy shooting, going 4 for 4. So the idea was get him out there, and he can just pick the corner on Dominik Hasek, who was the Czech goalie at the time, and Team Canada moves on to the finals. Lo and behold, Dominik Hasek, one of the best goalies of all time, took that wrist shot, stopped it with his glove, and Canada eventually lost 2-1 in that shootout, with Wayne Gretzky not even sniffing the ice in that shootout, which just absolutely wild. Robert Reichel scored the shootout goal on Patrick Roy, eliminating a star-studded Canadian team that, again, notoriously left Wayne Gretzky off the shootout roster. Czechia went on to win that tournament, and Canada didn't even medal in that tournament, as Finland took the bronze medal game by a score of 3-2. The Czechs beat Russia in that gold medal game by a score of 1-0. Of course, Dominik Hasek, just unbelievable there. One of the best goaltending performances of modern times. That brings us to 2002, 2006, 2010. The Bruins became a feeder for international teams during this stretch, sending some core leaders to many nations. You had Brian Rolston winning silver along with Bill Guerin for USA in 2002. You had Sergei Samsonov winning bronze with Russia in 2002 as well. In 2006, PJ Axelsson won a gold medal with Team Sweden. He finished the tournament with 6 points, tied with Peter Forsberg and Nicholas Lidstrom, which was pretty wild. In 2010, you had Patrice Bergeron winning a gold medal, the youngest player on the team at age 24. Tim Thomas won a silver as the backup to Ryan Miller during the Golden Goal game. David Krejci made his Olympic debut for Czechia that year as well. And then in 2014, you had Patrice Bergeron winning another gold medal, playing a top 6 role, largely on a line with Sidney Crosby. Tuukka Rask won a bronze with Finland, shutting out Team USA 5-0 in that bronze medal game. Zdeno Chara was the flag bearer for Slovakia that year. I was covering the games for the Score in 2014, and again, I've mentioned it before, but loved taking screenshots of Zdeno Chara. Claude Julien won gold as an assistant coach for Team Canada. And now this year, of course, the Bruins have 9 representatives over in Italy. Well, they were supposed to, but Pavel Zacha is out. Then I have David Pastrnak, who is the opening ceremony flag bearer for his country, taking on Team Canada today. You have Charlie McAvoy, who's an alternate captain, playing on the top pair with Quinn Hughes for Team USA. Jeremy Swayman battling Jake Ottinger for the backup role behind Connor Hellebuck. We mentioned Elias Lindholm, Hampus Lindholm for Sweden, Korpisalo, Henri Jokiharju for Finland, and then Dan Schluckmelis, the 21-year-old prospect representing the underdog Latvians. Unfortunately, Pavel Zacha was not able to play due to injury. Carrying the flag is the highest Olympic honor for a hockey player prior to the games, not winning a medal, of course. Only 2 Bruins have done it, Zdeno Chara, David Pastrnak, and only 1 Bruins player is a member of the Triple Gold Club, which is winning a Stanley Cup, World Championship gold, an Olympic gold, and that is Patrice Bergeron, who did the Cup in 2011, the Worlds in 2004, and then 2 Olympic gold medals. So that's a brief look at the history of Bruins at the Winter Olympics. Today, day 2, a couple big games coming up featuring Bruins, and we'll preview those here as the podcast continues. The Winter Games are officially here, and if you're anything like us, you're locking in for the events you only get to see on the biggest stage every 4 years. That's why following the Winter Games on FanDuel just makes sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sports you care about most, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to the action. The drama of curling matches, the intensity of the hockey games, speed skating races decided by inches, FanDuel keeps the Olympic experience engaging from start to finish. The Winter Games are on. There's no better way to follow them than with FanDuel. At FanDuel, you can play your game. All right, some big games on tap today. Czechia versus Canada at 10:40 a.m. Latvia versus the United States at 3:10 p.m. Eastern Time. Let's start with Latvia. Dan Schleckmelis got the call to Milan. He said he was super happy. Whole family was pumped. It's been his dream to play in the Olympics and represent his country. Always a privilege to play for your national team on a big stage, and he feels like this is going to be something else. He's in his first full AHL season with Providence, 28 points in 43 games, and he represented Latvia in 3 World Championships so far, earning a bronze medal in 2023. He led all Latvian skaters with 4 goals, ranked second on the team with 6 points during the 2025 tournament, in which, as I mentioned before, he was given some props from none other than Sidney Crosby for the way that he was playing. Now, he plays for Latvia, which also features Sandis Vilmanis. He is the Florida Panthers player that re-injured Charlie McAvoy prior to the Olympic break by leveling him with a pretty brutal, under-penalized, non-suspended elbow to the face. And thank goodness that McAvoy was wearing that full fishbowl, because otherwise he probably would not be playing in this tournament. He was named an alternate captain alongside Matthew Tkachuk and under Austin Matthews as the team leader. His 4 Nations experience last year was cut short due to injury. He fought his way back from a broken jaw this season to be ready for the Olympics and was not deterred after taking that bump. We saw him take to X last week to show the damage that was done, a replay of that hit, and lo and behold, we have McAvoy, Team USA, going up against Vilmanis and Latvia here this afternoon. There was an interview the other day from a Latvian outlet in which Vilmanis kind of said Paul Maurice did not let him come back into that game or suggested that he remain off the ice. He was taken out for some evaluation after the incident. Not sure what that was from, but he basically said Paul Maurice gave him the red light to not come back. Obviously, Charlie McAvoy is going to prioritize a victory for Team USA over getting any personal revenge. However, if he does have an opportunity to line up Vilmanis, you can expect that he will definitely take that. Jeremy Swayman was a significant member of the 2025 World Championship tournament winning team for USA this past spring. 7-0 record, shutout in the final game against Switzerland. That kind of propelled him into a rejuvenated season this year for the Bruins. He will likely take a back seat to Connor Hellebuyck and Jake Ottinger, but if he's called upon, you know that he is in fine form so far this season and will do whatever he can to help Team USA to victory. Then we have Czechia, Team Canada. David Pastrnak led his country's athletes out to the opening ceremony while waving the Czech flag. selected as the flag bearer. He said he was speechless, honestly, going over there to represent your country. He's going to give it his all. Really happy and honored to be able to hold the flag and represent Czechia in that ceremony. David Pastrnak rightly acknowledged that his squad is the underdogs heading into today's game against Canada. Especially without Pavel Zacha in the lineup, that really hurts their chances. And he said it will take a near perfect game for Czechia to take out Canada. Canada's the gold medal favorite. Won 4 straight best-on-best international hockey tournaments, including, the Four Nations face-off, Sochi, Vancouver. I can't remember the other one. The World Cup a few years ago. Pastrnak added Canada obviously has insane power and strength over there. A lot of the world's best players. At the end of the day, we're going to have to focus on us. They've got Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, Macklin Celebrini among the league's leading point getters so far this season. Lukas Dostal is going to have to be huge for this team if they're going to have any chance. Big advantage if Jordan Binnington is in the net for Team Canada. Czechia has an opportunity to pepper him early, get some pucks on net, score some big goals, maybe prompt a goalie change, and for Canada to feel a bit underconfident. Dostal has superior numbers so far this season over Binnington, and he has the ability to steal a game. So watch for him to be an X factor in today's game against Czechia. Pastrnak has been named an alternate captain for Czechia. Roman Cervenka, the veteran, getting the C for them. Pavel Zacha, of course, not able to suit up, which is a big bummer for him. And I know that he would have loved to have been out there supporting his team and trying to do his best to help Team Czechia pull off a big upset here over Team Canada and in this tournament. It's going to be looking back to Jaromir Jagr, Dominik Hasek, like guys who have stepped up in the past for that country. It all gets underway 10:40 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm so excited. And if you want to keep the conversation going, please do check out the Everydayer Club, which is built specifically for regular listeners of Locked On Bruins. You get an ad-free episode in your feeds, members-only Discord access, and more. Head to lockedonbruins.supercast.com to join the club. Thank you so much for tuning in to Locked On Boston Bruins today. Tomorrow we'll recap these 2 big games at the Olympics, bring you all the latest on the black and gold. So make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Boston Bruins so you get all the latest episodes. You can find bonus content on Reels and TikTok. I'll post quick videos after each of the games today. And if you're watching on YouTube, check out the 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel next. Also, NHL Game Night covering the Olympics from top to bottom. All part of the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Please do take care of yourselves, friends. Take care of each other. Crazy news every day coming out, and we just want to take a break, talk some hockey, and keep the conversation going on the Everydayer Club. That's it. See you tomorrow on Locked On Boston Bruins.